Coming up on show 659, Tesla surpasses all sorts of records. Fisker unveil pricing for the Ocean SUV. And why 2019 was the year of the EV in Norway. Those stories and many more coming up on today's podcast. First proper news show of 2020. We're living in the future, literally. Hello, my name is Martyn Lee. Welcome to EV News Daily. If you wondered where I've been, by the way, and you haven't caught up with the show from a couple of days ago, I did put a quick pre-podcast out before the news came back explaining where I've been. It's good news, by the way, but I won't talk about me anymore. This show's about the EVs that we drive and the ones that we want to drive as well. And I go through all the EV stories that I can find every day to save you time. Now, I've been away, obviously, for almost a month probably now. And so there's lots of ways that I could have come back, but I thought what I'd do is I'd just get back into the swing of things and bring you the news over the last, well, this is the last 3 or 4 days, actually. So the big news on Friday was Tesla's numbers, and then some stuff happening over the weekend, and then from tomorrow, getting back into the last 24 hours of news. Hey, thank you as always to myev.com. I may have been away, but myev.com gets bigger and better all the time. By the way, the first marketplace in the world all about purely electric vehicles or cars with a plug socket. Got a brand new premium partner to bring you news of this week on the podcast as well. Always wonderful when we start working with somebody very, very closely, and we'll be setting a brand new question of the week at the end of the podcast. Hey, it's so good to be back. Let's get into the news. Well, Tesla said Friday last week that it delivered 367,500 vehicles across the year. 367,500. What a number. Brilliant. And it beats their previous guidance of 360,000. They did give a range, and so they didn't exactly beat the range that they gave, but certainly it beats the bottom end. 50% more than the previous year, a record-breaking figure. And of course, it's all down to the Model 3. According to TechCrunch, more than a third of the deliveries, about 112,000 of those, occurred in the fourth quarter. So yes, those keeping up with the maths, 4 quarters in a year. In that last quarter, over a third of the deliveries happened. The fourth quarter caps a year that started poorly for Tesla. The company delivered just 63,000 vehicles in the first quarter. What a transformation from 63,000 to 112,000. Nearly a third drop from the previous record as the year started. The low first quarter delivery numbers signalled what was to come. Wider than expected losses, 702 million loss, driven by those delivery numbers, costs and pricing adjustments to the vehicles. However, they rebounded. 95,200 vehicles in Q2, 97,000 vehicles in Q3, 112,000 vehicles, smashing all of the predictions, these Wall Street analysts, yes, the experts that get paid to have their ear to the ground, to have inside sources, all of them, absolutely wrong. There's no comeback, of course, for that. They don't exactly get fired for being wrong, maybe not in the short term, maybe, I don't know, long term it's not good for their reputation, but they were all so wildly out. CNBC noted that it has very little stock. Tesla don't have car parks full of cars just waiting to be sold, unless you're reading Tesla Q on Twitter, of course, and they think that those car parks they can see are all just cars that they can't sell, and of course Tesla's going bankrupt tomorrow. However, those cars have all got buyers. CNBC notes that Tesla, unlike other car makers, don't have stock sitting around. Investors were watching the production numbers as well as the delivery numbers. In the second and third quarters of 2019, Tesla actually delivered more cars than it produced. It was running down the stock that it had. The production versus deliveries gap, they call it, actually widened in the quarter that we've just had. So in the third quarter, Tesla made 96,155 vehicles. They delivered 97,000 vehicles. And yet in the quarter we've just had, Q4, they made 104,891. They delivered 112,000. Earlier this week, Elon made personal appearances at the Fremont car plant and delivery centre to to cheer on the employees and even the Tesla fans who are volunteering to deliver cars to customers and be those people that are there to say, hey, if you want to know how so-and-so works, just ask me. The year-end deadline, of course, was the tax credit deadline. $1,875 was the tax credit that you could get off next year's tax bill. However, that's all gone. So even if you ordered the car last year, but it's delivered anytime after midnight on the 1st, you don't qualify. I'll pop a link to CNBC in the show notes if you want to read more about the actual numbers there. Now, the shipments actually grew by 50% last year, and the trend should continue as Tesla begins delivering the first Model 3s, now made in Shanghai, Gigafactory 3. Well, Tesla says the factory has produced 1,000 customer saleable cars, is the exact quote, and it's demonstrated a production run rate capability of about 3,000 units a week. Doesn't mean they're making 3,000 every single week. If you remember, long-time listeners of the show, I've often talked about when they were ramping up the Model 3 at Fremont, they would talk about how so-and-so part of the factory is capable of a run rate, a theoretical run rate of X many thousand if they could repeat it. Often they would use one day's figures and extrapolate. Well, local battery pack production could be what's holding things back, according to Engadget. Tesla plans to manufacture a Model Y at Shanghai as well, and Elon previously said he expects the Model Y, this was his quote, to outsell the S, the 3 and the X combined. And that trend will be going somewhere in 2020 because, yes, we know that the Model Y will be delivered sometime Q2, I think. We don't know that, by the way. That's me guessing. We know Model Y will be delivered this year. Your safe money would say that by the end of the year, customers will have Model Ys. But if you're an optimist, you'd say that sometime in Q2, it could well be a good day for Model Y reservation holders. Well, what about the share price? If you think that side of it has been ticking along nicely, well, I mean, nicely if you're a shareholder in Tesla, it's been doing anything but ticking along. Tesla ended the first week of 2020 above $443 per share. Tesla's market capitalization is now about $80 billion. That is more than double a certain company that goes by the name of Ford. Yeah, their market cap, $37 billion. According to Quartz, Tesla's market cap first exceeded Ford's back in April 2017. The two companies began 2018 about the same place. Ford was $52 billion, Tesla $54. Tesla's mostly been in the lead since then. Ford did jump ahead earlier in 2019, but what a run Tesla has been on with the Model 3 and all those numbers, meaning that the share price, the market cap rather, is now double. China's BAIC EU series is the only car in the world that gets anywhere near Tesla's Model 3, which is far and away now the world's most popular EV. So, Tesla short sellers. Short sellers are people who bet against companies. They want to see companies fail, and they make their money that way. In the last 7 months, short positions on Tesla shares, get this, have lost $8.4 billion. According to S3 Partners, a financial analytics firm, according to CNN.com, that's more than the short losses on any other company. The second biggest loss for short sellers was at Apple, where they lost under $6 billion in the same period. But Apple is a much, much larger company, and the short positions, it's a far different ballgame, much, much smaller than Tesla. Short selling accounts for about 21% of Tesla stock sales currently, 1% of Apple in comparison. Short sellers bet that the price of a stock is going to go down. If it rises before they cash out, they've got to buy the shares at the higher price and they cover their bet. You see, losses are theoretically unlimited and often astronomical. Some short sellers have retreated from their positions. They've given up, hoping Tesla is going bankrupt. About 36% of its shares were being sold short in May, but many Tesla shorts are holding on. They are convinced the market will turn and Tesla will go bankrupt. Final couple of stories on Tesla then, and, well, let's talk firstly about one of their gambles in tech, Tesla is setting up an R&D, a research and development office in Israel. They're hoping to capitalise on the country's penchant for birthing innovative startups, according to Car Buzz. Well, for now, the office will focus on scouting for local startups and technologies that could help strengthen Tesla's future products, and representing the automaker in things like talks and information exchanges with its Israeli companies. Globes reports that in the future, however, the office could grow into something like an R&D office like they have in Palo Alto, maybe several dozen engineers working directly with the US office. Well, 2019 was a year to forget for Tesla's competition. Things like the Chevrolet Bolt dropping 8.9% in the US, and the Nissan Leaf dropping 16% across the year in the US, says Bloomberg. And what of the pricey European models that are supposed to be challenging, Elon Musk asks Bloomberg. Well, Porsche is only just starting to sell the much-hyped Taycan and handed over the first 130 units back in December. Audi sold 746 e-trons in the year. And in the month, and had about 5,500 for the year. Jaguar behind, about 2,500 for the year. To give Elon Musk some serious run for his money, though, automakers are hoping that longer ranges are going to deliver the challenge to Tesla. Even then, Elon is going to carry on building up that allure around the company. Joe Spack is an analyst at RBC Capital Markets and said perhaps that Tesla's best asset is its brand. Many consumers are evangelical about their vehicles. I'll pop a link to Bloomberg in the show notes if you want to read more. Well, today we saw a report that Tesla has just made the Model Y now available to order in China. Although Production Info says that the Chinese production deliveries will happen in 2021. According to Market Inside EVs, the online design studio includes 3 versions, as is pretty typical of the design studio around the world, just like the US and many of the different countries they sell in. Estimated prices of the car much, much higher in the US, but I really hate it when people compare the US price to other countries. I mean, there's import tariffs, there's also local market pricing. You know, Tesla will work out what will people pay in a country for this car to maximise their profits and their margins. So at the moment, the long-range version of the Model Y is the equivalent of about $63,000. Way over, 20 grand more than you'd pay. Long-range version, the all-wheel drive long-range, about $70,000 equivalent, and the long-range all-wheel drive performance is 76,000. Again, don't compare country to country. And of course, these are Model 3s that will probably begin being made in Fremont, unless something changes and Gigafactory 3 starts producing Model Ys earlier, in which case those prices could well drop. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about something else, and let's talk Fisker. And Fisker finally gave the world a good look at the electric SUV that they hope will dominate at the event in Los Angeles yesterday on Sunday. There was also some bizarre karaoke. According to Mashable, the Fisker Ocean SUV is going to cost $37,499 in the US. $30,000 after tax credits. That's the same league as the Model 3, which starts at $35,000 if you go and get one off the shelf. Not the shelf, what is it called? Off menu. Fisker says the car will have a range of up to 300 miles on a single charge. Henrik Fisker revealed the car's head-up display with the ability to show karaoke lyrics on the head-up display. The Ocean will be shipping in 2022. We know that other car companies, namely Tesla, have had a ramp to forget. Production hell is how Elon described it. So good luck to Fisker getting their EV to market in sometime in 2022. So in theory, the next 3 years. Well, the order books are open now, and you can use Fisker's mobile app or the website You can put $250 down for the reservation fee. That initial cost applies to the full purchased option and the lease option, which they're pushing. Now, the lease is going to cost $379 a month. These are dollars, by the way. $379 a month. $3,000 due at signing, according to Roadshow by CNET. Exact performance details are to be confirmed. 80 kilowatt hour battery, though. So maybe 250, maybe 300 miles, if they're lucky. Fisker says they have global manufacturing facilities in the US, in China, in Europe, and they want to build 1 million vehicles between 2022 and 2027. The Ocean platform will also go on to underpin 2 more vehicles from Fisker. Okay, let's go to Norway right now. And electric cars continue to dominate in Norway, as 2019 saw EV sales rise 42%. That was up from 31% the year before, in 2018, according to the OFV. That represents a third increase, according to Electrek. If you add in plug-in hybrids as well, so in other words, any car that comes with a plug socket on the side of it, 56% of Norway's new car sales last year had a plug. 56% of cars can be plugged in Norway last year. Just brilliant. Sales numbers have been buoyed with a record year for Tesla. Model 3 was the most popular car in Norway in 2019. Model 3, the most popular single model in the country. That dethroned the Nissan Leaf. The Model 3 itself, an 11% market share in Norway. That is more than something like the VW Golf. Yeah, it's got a sting, hasn't it, when the Model 3 sells so many. In fact, no, I think the Model 3 then. So the Model 3 is because the Golf is number 2. So Model 3 is the number 1 selling car in Norway. 11% market share. That'll do. And finally, let's go to Germany. And Daimler is struggling a little bit in its home court. It's sold 55 units of the EQC since it was released in Germany. Now, I've double-checked this story twice. It doesn't seem as if these numbers are incorrect. They just seem too low. 55 Mercedes-Benz EQCs sold in Germany. It just doesn't seem right. It was once called a Tesla killer. More than once, actually, in many articles. According to Teslarati, the German publication Welt noted that the manufacturer Daimler is hesitant to reveal information about EQC sales, but the Federal Motor Transport Authority, the KBA, revealed 19 of them were sold in November, and since the vehicles was first released, the total number is 55. It just seems too low. Maybe it's true. Wow. It's a gorgeous car. There are so many brilliant YouTube reviews out there of the Mercedes-Benz EQC. Deliveries in the US have been pushed back, I think, another year. I might need to check. That's 2021, I think, before an EQC is sold in the USA. And it's a great car. It's a brilliant EV. Those numbers should be higher. Right, let's talk about question of the week this week. The first one of the brand new decade. Brilliant. So, let's mark it with your predictions. And I'd love to hear from you. Bit of fun. What are your EV predictions for 2020? What are your 12-month predictions? What's going to happen this year? It can be specific to a manufacturer or charging. Maybe you intend to buy an EV. Let me know your 2020 predictions and I'll read them all out this Sunday. A few of mine, off the top of my head. I think EV values will continue to rise. I think you'll still see a really strong second-hand market. Keep your eyes on myev.com. Mainstream press, I think, will take EVs more seriously, and Tesla. They'll stop treating Elon Musk like so much of a clown. He tends to be portrayed in the mainstream newspapers as a bit of a laughingstock sometimes. Okay, no more throwing steel balls at windows, though, Elon. Tesla's Battery Day is something that gets talked about occasionally, but it's on my mind quite a lot. Battery Day will unveil their roadmap, and I think it's going to show you how that Tesla's everyday cars will be getting to 600 miles. That's my prediction. Queues at chargers will increase this year. That's my prediction. As less tech-savvy early adopters are driving EVs and more people who are getting on board, and that's a good thing. But, sometimes people aren't always the best educated. We've got some lovely new 150 kilowatt, whatever they're called now, HPCs or ultra-fast chargers. There's a charging hub in Hammersmith on the Polar Network as well. There's more dotted about the country. Nothing breaks your heart more than seeing a plug-in hybrid plugged into one of those. And when there's the option of plugging into maybe a 3 or a 7 kilowatt post, or maybe even if you have to a 50 kilowatt fast charger, and someone turns up and plugs into one of those and leaves it there for an hour and a half on their plug-in hybrid, probably not their fault. Maybe they don't know what they're doing. Some people do. These are the EV drivers that park in EV spaces and don't plug their cars in. My current bugbear. There's going to be more of that happening this year. That's my prediction. So, let me know yours. You can email me. hello@evnewsdaily.com is my email address. Or drop me a line on socials and we'll read out your answers on Sunday. Well, thank you so much to 230 patrons of this podcast. And your generosity, your support through my break as well, it has been noted. I'm enormously grateful. Thank you so much. If you'd like to know what it's all about, check out Patreon's website, patreon.com/EVNewsDaily. Thank you, my premium partners, Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, and Avid Technology, and a new name to add to the list very soon. And if you would like to get in contact, you can do that anytime via the blog, evnewsdaily.com. There are 658 previous shows, some interviews in the archive as well. If you can leave a little review on Apple iTunes, always helpful. Have a wonderful day. Catch you soon. And remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.